Welcome to Cadwell Park on the MSVT Racing YouTube channel. It's been a difficult day here at Cadwell Park with lots of low-laying fog and mist over the course of the day, but after being able to begin qualifying at 12:30 and then a further delay after more fog hit, we've been able to get through the 3 qualifying sessions this morning, or this afternoon as it has been, and therefore we are looking forward to the 4 races brought to you by the MSVT Racing Group. We have a 45-minute race for both the Trackday Trophy and the Trackday Championship, and a pair of 20-minute sprint races for the Miata Trophy for Mazda MX-5s, and they will be coming up over the course of the next 3 hours or so here at the picturesque Cadwell Park circuit. It's maybe not looking as fantastic as we normally would see in sunshine conditions. It's a bit damp here and massively overcast, as you can see from some of those shots, and particularly up at the top end of the circuit down the Park Straight. Still some mist in the distance, but the visibility is so much better than what it was half an hour ago when we were under red flag conditions, and certainly this morning. But we were able to get those qualifying sessions completed. It's not cold here, it's around 21 degrees Celsius. So we will see if the track does dry over the course of the 4 races. In qualifying, the lap times come down significantly, about 10 seconds or so. We started from around 2 minutes. Lap times got down to under 1 minute 50s by the end of the 3 qualifying sessions. And shortly we'll be getting the first race cars out of the assembly area and onto the circuit. Then they will get a full green flag lap before what should be a standing start if the officials are happy with the track conditions. I can see over there at the mounting complex there's, I think, been a bit of fluid or something put down at the end of that last session, because the circuit maintenance team are there. You can see that if you're watching on the live streaming pictures. Bit of fluid or something that needed to be dealt with, which isn't particularly ideal in the situation that we've had, and it adds to the challenges here at Cadwell Park on what is the last car racing day here in Lincolnshire. A big thank you to the marshals, the Orange Army, who have been on post since 8:30 this morning. They've had to wait through the delays this morning, but a big thank you to all of the volunteers giving up their day and being an absolutely vital part of making sure this race day has been able to go ahead. It's going ahead much later than what we had hoped for, but we are shortly going to be able to get the cars for our first race out onto the circuit. To give you an idea of what we saw in qualifying earlier on this morning, first of all, we saw the Trackday Trophy cars have their 25-minute qualifying session, which Michael Rawlings got pole position in his BMW 328i right at the end of the session with a time of 1 minute 49.184 in these damp and tricky conditions on what is a very tricky circuit, but a great driving circuit. You can see there the new hospitality building that's been built at Cadwell Park for this season, overlooking the mountain section into the Hall Bends. It's such a popular place to watch racing here at Cadwell Park. But as I say, Michael Rawlings set pole position for the first qualifying session today by just under 9/10 of a second from Nathan McPhail's Honda Civic, who led the session for the majority of it. And then Ethan and Roan Lunday were third quickest in their Mazda MX-5. And those 3 cars actually in 3 different classes, so all set in individual quickest time and pole position. Then the Miata Trophy cars went out for their qualifying session. Due to the latest fog delays, meant their super pole session didn't go ahead, so the grid set by qualifying times. And it was the guest driver, Will Blackwell Chambers, who set the quickest time. He won't start from pole, though. That would be Declan Lee in the Hills Motorsport car, the reigning champion, who did a 1 minute 46.73 right at the end of the session. He hadn't really featured at the top of the times until then. An important final time from him to set pole by 1.7 seconds over Carly Atkins. And Alex Miller was third. And with a change of timetable that we've just been made aware of, the Miata Trophy cars will be our first race. So race 2 on the programmes, if you're here at Cadwell Park, will go first. Because the Trackday Championship qualifying sessions just completed, some of those competitors are also in the Trackday Trophy, so aren't able to turn their cars around quick enough to get out. That means the Miata Trophy race will be our opening race of the day. We can see that on our streaming pictures, still our MSV circuit maintenance team are having to work to get the track into a good condition. So obviously one of the cars at the end of the final qualifying session was in dramas, and that's what's causing a slight delay to getting this Miata Trophy underway. The Trackday Championship times haven't yet been published, but quickest in that was Justin Roberts and Nicole Drought in their Honda Civic Type R. They set the quickest time, the first part of the qualifying session before the red flag. The championship leaders in the Trackday Championship coming into this weekend at Cadwell Park. The Miata Trophy then, which will race first, have been to Silverstone on the national circuit before supporting the Fanatec GT World Challenge Championship at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. Then they went to Donington Park on the national track, Anglesey on the coastal layout and the Snetterton 300 before heading here to Cadwell Park today. Further rounds will take place at Alton Park and Brands Hatch. Predominantly the cars on the grid are NC models, or Mazda MX-5 Mark IIIs if you like, but there is an ND, a Mark IV on the grid too for Kevin Sylvain, and the one guest driver too, not scoring points, Will Blackpool Chambers, who will go from the back of the grid for our opening race of the day. The championship coming here to Cadwell Park is headed by John Langridge, despite the fact that he's only had the one race victory, which came at Anglesey. Nicholas Stott is second in the championship. He is 63 points behind John Langridge. He was a winner in the opening race at Silverstone. And then Declan Lee, third in the championship. He was a race winner in the other race at Anglesey. So there are 3 championship contenders coming here to Cadwell Park in the Miata Trophy for Mazda MX-5s. And they are now leaving the assembly area and heading onto the Hall Bend behind the MSV safety car. You can see the slippery surface flags are being shown as well, after that had to be dealt with a few moments ago. So we have 14 Mazda MX-5s you can see there on the grid. See there number 55, Simon Fleet, who qualified 9th on the grid, 10th quickest this afternoon with a time of 1 minute 52.399, 6 seconds off the time that Will Blackpool Chambers did in the Rob Boston racing car. He will go from the back as a guest. It'll be interesting to see how far he can work up his way on the overall order, although not scoring points for the championship. Other race winners this year, although not racing today, Dan Parran-Smith was a winner at Silverstone, Aidan Hills and Paul O'Neill won at Donington Park, and Will Morris won the double header last time out 4 weeks ago at Snetterton. So the cars then will line up in front of me on the grid. Narrow grid here at Cadwell Park with number 1 then on pole position, Declan Lee's Hills Motorsport car, and his teammate alongside 42 is Carly Atkins for this 20-minute Miata Trophy race. There on the second row you can see Alex Miller alongside his teammate John Langridge, and then on row number 3 we will have Nicholas Stott and George Grant. But in all those cars on the left, or one on the left, one on the right, and then another on the left, 1, 5 and 4 are our 3 championship contenders coming here to Cadwell Park, with the reigning champion right at the front. So we'll have a green flag lap in a moment, and then we'll look forward to our first 20 minutes of competition. A little bit of confusion with the grid, because the grid sheet has put Kevin Sylvain where he qualified, which would be 8th, but generally that ND class car will start behind the NC cars. So that, I think, has caused some confusion. David Chapman had problems at the end of qualifying. He ended 7th in the Pure Shared Autosport car. He spent the second half in the pit lane, so didn't get his optimal lap time. So he might be one to watch coming forward if all is okay. That's the car just pulling into its grid slot now, alongside what is Simon Fleet. So they haven't shuffled him forwards then. And then they will shuffle Ruben Lowe into his spot, although it's not quite the spot that perhaps some of the officials were expecting. So that Ruben Lowe will go now into his right place. Another of the Hills Motorsports car, the Aidan Hills squad, very busy this weekend with a full complement of cars. Moving up into positions now, Jack Hargraves and Raymond Worley. And Liz Walton. And they're in some sort of an order, which I think we might go with. There is sort of a gap where perhaps that ought not to be. But all the cars are there, all the 14 cars that are qualified are there on the grid. Ahead of a 20-minute race on the full circuit here at Cadwell Park, just over a couple of miles. The 32nd board has been shown, so the next thing we will see from our start line marshal is a green flag. So the green flag clap then will get underway, being led by car number 1, Declan Lee. And while the cars are making their way around the green flag lap, then we should be able to look through the grid for the Miata Trophy here at Cadwell Park. So on pole position is car number 1, Declan Lee, with a time of 1 minute 46.733. Alongside is 42, Carly Atkins, with 1 minute 48.442. On the second row, number 7 is Alex Miller with a 1 minute 48.624. Alongside is 5, John Langridge, 1 minute 49.196. Row 3 is number 4, Nicholas Stott with a 1 minute 49.608. And 69 alongside George Grant, 1 minute 51.183. On the fourth row, 19, David Chapman, 1 minute 52.144. And 55, Simon Fleet, 1 minute 52.399. Row 5 is 21, Ruben Lowe, 1 minute 53.317, alongside 66, Jack Hargrave with a 1 minute 55.453. On row 6 is 40, Raymond Worley, 1 minute 55.591, and alongside 119, Liz Walton, 2 minutes 02.640, her time in qualifying. Then a gap before on row 9, the 2 non-NC class cars, so that's number 62, Kevin Sylvain, the ND car, 1 minute 52.334. Alongside the guest, 43, Will Blackpool Chambers, 1 minute 45.657. So that's how the grid will line up for the first of 4 races today from the MSVT Racing Group. This is a race day organised by Motorsport Vision Racing. Window wipers there on number 19's car, David Chapman. I think still maybe a bit of spray kicked up around the circuit. It's still a little bit damp, particularly offline, so overtaking, it's not easy here at Cadwell Park at the best of times. It's going to be pretty challenging today, I suspect. The iconic shot there we can see over the top of the mounting. Not sure we'll be seeing any cars taking all 4 wheels off the ground today, but the cars go light, maybe a bit of wheel spin as well in these conditions. 66, you can see there, the car of Jack Hargraves, run by Bora Motorsport. Then through the wooded section into Barn Corner, the final corner on this 2.187 mile venue. And then the reigning champion then, Declan Lee, will take up his pole position spot. Start very important traditionally here at Cadwell Park. The race winner from Anglesey then, Declan Lee on pole. Great qualifying from Carly Atkins, who will start alongside in 42, who has not featured on the podium this season, so great qualifying from him. Then on the second row, John Langridge, the championship leader, alongside his teammate Alex Miller. So the cars are in a position on the grid, and the 20 minutes race is about to get underway. The lights go out. Huge wheel spin from Carly Atkins from the outside of the front row, so John Langridge gets caught up a bit in that as well. But it's a good start from pole position from Declan Lee, so he will lead into Coppice Corner for the first time. He's followed by Alex Miller. Some challenges there as Carly Atkins loses further spots. Around the outside of him there went Nicholas Stott to go fourth. And through Charlie's onto the Park Straight they go for the first time, being led by Declan Lee. Alex Miller is second, John Langridge is third. He's chased by Nicholas Stott. Carly Atkins, who started slow, is fifth. Sixth is George Grant. Then in seventh position there was David Chapman. By the time I get to the Park Straight, a good lead for Declan Lee, so he's not under threat as they turn down at the end of the straight. Good battle though for sixth position between the cars driven by George Grant and David Chapman. Through into the gooseneck, a challenging corner. We've seen in the past anything will run wide out of here. We really don't want to be doing that today because the grass is going to be damp and you'll lose significant traction, but it's not a problem, I don't think, in that little battle. George Grant though runs wide out of Mansfield at the bottom of the hill and allows David Chapman to draw up alongside of him and move into sixth position. So there's a change and a challenger behind them as well. And that is Will Blackpool Chambers coming from the back of the grid, trying to make a way past Simon Fleet in the guest car. I don't think Blackpool Chambers has quite been able to do that. Into Hall Bends they go. So a long queue here now behind David Chapman after he got past George Grant and he's sideways in the middle of Hall Bends. But he gathers that up. Meanwhile, the top five are absolutely together. So Declan Lee's not been able to get away from Alex Miller, who's there in second ahead of his teammate and championship leader Alex Miller's teammate John Langridge, now trying to draw up alongside up across the start and finish line. A really good exit. Meanwhile, 119 has had a off, so Liz Walton's had a spin which I think is in the Hall Bends, but for second position John Langridge goes through across the line into P2 ahead of Alex Miller, but it's Declan Lee that leads by about a second. Langridge is second, Miller is third, fourth is Nicholas Stott, who was just ahead of Carly Atkins, who was quick in qualifying earlier on. Then in sixth position is David Chapman, seventh is George Grant. From the back of the grid, Will Blackpool Chambers is eighth. He was the fastest driver in qualifying. So up the Park Straight into Park Corner they go. One of the hardest braking areas, one of the best places to overtake this is, but that is not possible. But a big challenge now between the two Hills Motorsport teammates. There's Carly Atkins right on terms with Nicholas Stott as they go up towards the gooseneck for the second time of asking in what will probably be an 11-lap race. Then downhill into Mansfield, another good position to overtake there, because another hard braking place downhill, so easy to make a mistake and run wide. That's not been a problem in this battle. The second position now led by John Langridge after that good exit to Barn Corner he got to at the end of lap one. So through the chicane they go at the bottom of the mountain, over the top of the hill they go. Was Langridge a touch wide there? No, I think he was okay, so he hangs on to second and they hop over the first apex curve, the right-handed element of Hall Bends, and they sliver through the left and right. You can see it's slippery because they're much slower through that part of the track than they would be in dry conditions. And down into Barn Corner, and the car of Alex Miller has dropped back. So Alex Miller, who was third, has fallen behind the two Hills Motorsport cars of Nicholas Stott and Carly Atkins. So Miller's dropped to fifth. The fastest lap has been done by Langridge, not as quick as they were going in qualifying, interestingly. A 1 minute 51.359, and he was a tenth quicker than Declan Lee, so brings the gap down by a tenth as he continues the chase then to the leader, Declan Lee. Meanwhile, for third position, Nicholas Stott and Carly Atkins absolutely nose to tail as they go out of Charlie's corner, being chased by Alex Miller, who they've just passed. And for sixth, David Chapman is under pressure from Will Blackpool Chambers, who had already got past George Grant. He's now going past David Chapman out of what is Charlie's corner and down the Park Straight. Third, fourth and fifth, nose to tail, being headed there by Nicholas Stott, the driver who won the opening round of the championship at Silverstone, but hasn't got the raw pace, I don't think, around Cadwell Park so far today. They're being chased then by 43, Blackwell Chambers. Downhill into Mansfield for the third time. Big gaps developed between second and third, and then we've got a four-way tussle now for third as Blackwell Chambers is on to the back of Alex Miller. The group being headed though by Stott, with Atkins defending from Miller. Absolutely line astern as they turn left through the first element of the mountain. Then a lot more speed carried by Nicholas Stott, but he's, I think, got that all gathered together at the top of the hill. And Blackwell Chambers was looking to the inside of Alex Miller, couldn't go through. David Chapman is trying to close in on this group now to make it five-way battle. Through the hairpin they go, the slowest corner on the circuit, then a short burst, and there's been a spin. They're all off the circuit because of that. That was Carly Atkins who had rotated, and Will Blackwell Chambers had to take to the grass. Alex Miller had to take to the grass as well, and Carly Atkins is facing in the opposite direction to what he would like to be. So that's really mixed up the order. But the top two, of course, they are unscathed from that, and they are able to get away. Meanwhile, Simon Fleet and George Grant are side by side as they head up towards Coppice Corner. And Grant, who might got caught up in that incident a little bit, has lost a spot, which is 7th place to Simon Fleet. And then they've got the ND, the Mark IV MX-5, just behind them of Kevin Sylvain, who's been making... But it's Declan Lee that leads. He set the fastest lap of 1 minute 50.607. Second is John Langridge. Third is Nicholas Stott. David Chapman progressed with those cars going off in front of him. He's now fourth. Will Blackwell Chambers is fifth. Alex Miller lost out the most and is sixth. He was the driver right behind Atkins. Not sure if there was a touch in there or not. George Grant was seventh. We just saw see him there battling away with Kevin Sylvain. He already lost that place, didn't he, to Simon Fleet, who's now seventh. And now under pressure for eighth is George Grant. Then Jack Hargreaves completes the top 10. So Will Blackwell Chambers has to do it again. He's on the tail of David Chapman for fourth overall. He's looking to the inside into the bottom of the mountain. No way through there. Then they flick right up over the top of the hill and down towards Hall Bends. Which is only an overtaking opportunity if you're fully alongside into the corner. So no way through there for Blackwell Chambers. Top two, are they closer together now? 1.2 seconds was the gap between Declan Lee and John Langridge. Looks like Langridge has had a better lap. And he sets the fastest lap, a 1 minute 50.399. As you can see on your screen there, at 1200th of a second quicker than Declan Lee to bring the gap down to 1.14 seconds. But quicker than all of them is Will Blackwell Chambers, who sets the fastest lap in the Rob Boston racing car with a time of 1 minute 49.628. So it's about 7 tenths quicker than Langridge. But he's still got to find a way past David Chapman to get fourth. But he won't be scoring points as he is a guest. So here comes Declan Lee up to Park Corner with 12 minutes on the clock. John Langridge has been there or thereabouts, a second behind him. Then the third, where we see Will Blackwell Chambers looking around the outside of David Chapman. Behind Nicholas Stott, the pair of them are. Will Blackwell Chambers puts a tyre on the grass, which flicks the car sideways. But he goes around the outside of Chapman, gets fourth, and takes the position then round the outside at Park Corner and goes ahead of him. And now he's chasing after Nicholas Stott. At the back of this group is Alex Miller. He's been quickly catching this trio. Blackwell Chambers immediately looks to the inside of Stott. He's right on the rear bumper. I don't think he could have been any closer there through the corner, and he's got a better exit. He's alongside up the curving straight towards the mountain left-handed element, and Blackwell Chambers goes through then. He's into third overall. He carries huge amounts of speed into the corner. He's massively sideways. He gathers it all back up together though. Has to defend out of the corner because he was slower through the right-handed element because he carried so much speed through the left-hander, but he's got the position. Blackwell Chambers up to third, and there's a huge gap to the top 10, but with still half the race to go. Blackwell Chambers has been the quickest driver all day. Maybe it's possible. For third in the NC class though, in the points, that's going to continue with Nicholas Stott and David Chapman and Alex Miller battling it out. Potentially, of course, the reason the lap was good as qualifying is because the track had that bit of fluid had to be dealt with, so maybe it's a bit slippery in places. We saw Blackwell Chambers get particularly sideways. Into Charlie's there. David Chapman looked to the inside of Nicholas Stott, couldn't go through. So they stay in the same order. For 4th overall, but 3rd in the class. Chapman hooks a wheel there out over the white line, over onto the grass, but that didn't seem to lose him too much momentum. We'll be very careful of doing that in these conditions. I think we've lost Liz Walton from the race. I think she's gone back to the paddock after her spin. Meanwhile, for 7th, there's been a change because the BC Cars Motorsport ND model car of Kevin Sylvain has got himself ahead of Simon Fleet, and then George Grant is chasing after them. His teammate there of Will Blackwell Chambers is pulling clear from Nicholas Stott. Blackwell Chambers started the lap 10.5 seconds behind John Langridge, who again was slightly quicker than Declan Lee. He's done a 1 minute 49.682 has Langridge. He got the gap to under a second at the end of what was 5 laps. There's Alex Miller in 7. He is 6th in the championship coming into this race. He was on the podium at Silverstone and twice at Snetterton last time out too. He's chasing after David Chapman in 19. Chapman yet to be on the podium this year. Up towards Barn Corner they come. Meanwhile, a new fastest lap from Declan Lee, a 1 minute 49.508. Still 3 seconds or so away from his qualifying time, a time that he only set right at the end of the session. Chambers on that lap, despite Blackwell Chambers not having to do any passing. So I don't think he's going to be able to get there. He's 12 seconds behind. So it's all about who can get the 4th overall and 3rd in the NC class then. Nicholas Stott versus David Chapman and Alex Miller. Out of Charlie's, down the park straight they go. Miller in the tow, pulls up to the left-hand side of the circuit, which draws him alongside Chapman here. And he's got his nose ahead into the braking zone at Park Corner, and he's gone round the outside. Good move that from Alex Miller to move into 5th position in the race. He started a second behind on this lap of David Chapman, but he's caught him and got past him pretty quickly. So he now is the one that is chasing Nicholas Stott in P4. Left through Mansfield, a bit sideways there for Stott out the corner. That's cost him momentum. But Alex Miller unable to make a move into the mountain. And over the top of the hill they go. Into Hall Bends. Flick right, then left. Then right again, then a curve into the left before you break downhill into what is known as the hairpin. Sharp right-hander. Leaders across the line, they're closest they've been all race, 6/10 of a second between Declan Lee and John Langridge. After a fastest lap there from Langridge, 1 minute 49.086. Albeit beaten by Will Blackwell Chambers with a 48.313. So 6/10 between Lee and Langridge onto the Park Straight. And then into Park Bend at the top of the hill. You see this gap back to Will Blackwell Chambers, who's 3rd. 11 seconds adrift, but he has set the fastest lap as he had in qualifying. Side by side behind is Alex Miller, has a big challenge on Nicholas Stott. This is how he passed Chapman a lap ago, but he can't get the better of Nicholas Stott, the driver who is 2nd in the championship, remember, to Langridge. But he's going to be losing points in this race. Declan Lee, who leads, just 6 points behind Stott in the championship. The two Hills Motorsport teammates. It's Langridge in the Miller Motorsport car that is closer than he has ever been to Declan Lee as they head up towards the Hall Bends for the 8th time. With at least 3 laps to go. down the hill into the hard braking zone at the hairpin. We've seen mistakes here from those further back. Carly Atkins has recovered to 11 since the Hills Motorsport car went off. He's lapping in the 150s, so good mid-pack pace. The leader's certainly less than 6/10 now. Where can Langridge find a way through to take his second win of the season into Coppice Corner? He has a look to the inside, can't go through there though. Super fast first corner here at Cadwell Park. Blackwell Chambers is still catching them with another fastest lap, but he's not going to be with them at the end unless something goes wrong between the top two. Because Langridge went offline at Coppice having a look to go through, he lost time. He couldn't carry the speed through the first corner that Declan Lee could. See in the background there, big taily sideways moment for Blackwell Chambers, who's there in third. What about behind him for fourth? Because we've seen Alex Miller be good on the brakes here into Park Corner. And again, he looks to the outside. Nicholas Stott, though, I think has this inside line covered, as he did a lap ago. So he stays in, he's fourth overall. There's the lead gap for the leaders on their Toyota tyres. Mazda MX-5 NC models from the mid-2000s. Bit of a twitch there for Lee as he turned into the bottom of the mountain. Didn't seem to affect him though. Langridge was good out of Barn Corner last time. So we'll see if he can do something similar to go after the leader once more. So this will be the end of 9 laps. Meanwhile, battles further behind, still for fourth between Nicholas Stott, Alex Miller and David Chapman is with them. There's Blackwell Chambers, who's third. Then this battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Particularly Stott and Miller quicker on different parts of the lap, it seems. Window wipers back on the Chapman car, I can see. Another fastest lap from Will Blackwell Chambers, 1 minute 47.427. He's 8 seconds behind the top two now. But with, I think, just 2 laps to go. So there is the number 4 car of Nicholas Stott, being chased by 7, Alex Miller. Up the park straight, they accelerate. Alex Miller's challenges here haven't come to anything really on this last lap or so. Not as close this time, it seems, to be able to make a move. They're the leaders, Declan Lee and John Langridge. Langridge had that one challenge into Coppice that wasn't really anything that Declan Lee had to worry about. But what about on the last lap and a bit? Because Langridge is coming back at him. The former Club Enduro class champion in an MX-5 in the past with Alex Miller, his teammate today. Long-time MX-5 racer, started out in the Mark 1s. Racing the Mark 3s for the last few seasons. Through Barn Corner they come. There's Blackwell Chambers going after them. But yeah, with 1 lap to go, he won't get there. So it's about these 2 championship contenders, both lapping consistently there in the 1 minute 48.6s after 10 laps. Through the left-hander at Coppice. And the double right at Charlie's. Being very aware not to run wide there. In dry conditions, you know, obviously the curb being used a lot, and then sometimes drivers running too wide. You certainly don't want to do that in these conditions. And Langridge doesn't really look like he's going to be close enough to have a go, I don't think, on this last lap. What about the battle for 4th? Because that's been interesting. Well, Alex Miller is right there again. He started the lap 1.3 seconds behind Alex Miller behind Nicholas Stott did Alex Miller, but he has caught him, and now he's alongside. Is he into Chris Curve? Not quite. He has to hop over the inside of the corner there, not to get into the side of Nicholas Stott. So Alex Miller stays in 5th, but he was pretty quick there, out of Park corner into Chris Curve, but he couldn't make it into a move. Now the 2 leaders aren't that far behind Raymond Worley. I don't think they're quite going to catch him, but that could be an awkward moment for Declan Lee if they get to traffic. And Language again is right onto his bumper as they go into Hall Bends. We've seen daring moves at Cadwell Park over the years for the last couple of corners. There's Worley sideways ahead of them. Is Language going to give this a go? He's got a championship to think about, so I think he's going to be happy to sit behind Declan Lee out of Barn corner and accelerate up towards the checkered flag. They don't catch the traffic, and Declan Lee then takes a victory for the 2nd time this season in the Miata Trophy. He was just 0.37 of a second ahead of John Langridge. Will Blackwell Chambers takes 3rd with the fastest lap. In 4th overall, Nicholas Stott has significantly pulled clear of Alex Miller, who will come home 5th. David Chapman is there in 6th as they take the checkered flag. Then there's a gap back to the ND car of Kevin Sylvain. He will be 7th. 8th and 9th together, Simon Fleet and George Grant. They've had a race-long tussle with Fleet coming out on top. The early spinner, Carly Atkins, has got himself back into 10th position in 42, takes the checkered flag. Jack Hargraves will be 11th. But it's a very happy Declan Lee who takes the race victory, last year's champion. Over 11 laps in the Hills Motorsport car with an average speed of 71.3 miles per hour over the race distance. Taking that win by 0.379 of a second from John Langridge. So 1 the winner Lee, 2nd 5 Langridge, 3rd 43 Will Blackwell Chambers, 4th for number 4 Nicholas Scott, 5th for 7 Alex Miller, 6th for 19 David Chapman, 7th for number 62 Kevin Sylvain, 8th for 55 Simon Fleet, 9th for 69 George Grant, 10th for 42 Carly Atkins, 11th for 66 Jack Hargraves, 12th number 21, which is the car of Ruben Lowe, and then 13th number 40 Raymond Worley will complete the finishes. The winners, as is tradition here at Cadwell Park, get waved off the circuit at the mountain and will head towards Parc Ferme. And then we will try with Jack Well over in that direction to catch up with our race winners. But I suspect it won't be too long before we move into our next race, which will be for the Trackday Trophy. If you're watching on the MSVT Racing YouTube page on the live stream, you can see the results on your screen now. So Declan Lee, the race winner after 20 minutes and 13 seconds by 0.379 of a second from John Langridge. Will Blackwell Chambers, who set the fastest lap with a 1 minute 47.256, was 3rd. Nicholas Stott took 4th ahead of Alex Miller, with David Chapman completing the top 6. 13 finishers. We lost Liz Walton after just a couple of laps. Miata Trophy action will be back a bit later on in the day for their next round. They have a 20-minute double header today at Cadwell Park, but we have the 2 MSVT Trackday categories, the Trackday Trophy and the Trackday Championship, coming up over the course of the afternoon here at Cadwell Park. A bit of trim lost by one of the cars, so our hard-working marshals have picked that up. So yeah, just getting confirmation of the remaining part of the timetable. So in about 7 minutes or so, the MSVT Trackday Championship will be out for their 45-minute race. Miata Trophy now have race 3 on the schedule, so they will be back out in about an hour's time. The Miata Trophy will be back, and then the MSVT Trackday Trophy will complete runnings just after 5 o'clock, and we hope to get all our race action completed by about 6 p.m. here at Cadwell Park, all being well with the weather conditions. Teams for our next race, the Trackday Trophy, make their way down from the paddock, which is based here at Cadwell Park, and totally the other side of the circuit to the pit lanes. If you're watching at home on the MSVT Racing YouTube channel and haven't seen Cadwell Park before, it's a unique venue with the paddock being in a different place, and you have to come down a really steep hill from the paddock to the pit lane. So if you've got any equipment, you've got to be particularly careful of that, and when you go back to the paddock afterwards, you've got to feel particularly strong to carry it back up the hill again.
Yeah, so the current update from up here at the scrutineering bay, the Miata Trophy need to get weighed first, and then we'll get down to the podium, and we can carry on with the podium proceedings from there.
So conditions still looking ever so challenging in places around the Cadwell Park circuit. So the clerk of the course is doing another inspection just to see how things have changed over the last half an hour or so to make sure all will be okay for the MSVT Trackday Trophy race, which will be over 45 minutes, a mixed class race of production cars with 3 classes based on power to weight ratio. These cars qualified
Sorry to jump in quickly, Josh.
At 12:30.
Just by way of a general service announcement, at least from our end, because of this morning's goings on weather-wise, it's left us rather close to timetable. So what we're trying to do is figure out exactly how we're going to structure the rest of the day by way of post-race interviews. So it means, unfortunately, we'll miss out on the podium. As soon as those cars come in at the end of their session in towards the scrutineering bay and the Parc Ferme area, we'll jump in, grab word with the top 3, and then that means we can pass down ready to get the next race underway, because it's going to be super quick turnover by way of the brilliant work from the marshals, the circuit staff, and MSV and MSVR as well. They're going to really try and get these cars back out on circuit as soon as possible, which unfortunately means I think we'll miss the podium on a couple of occasions. But for the moment, the main plan is we will just grab a word with those top 3 as and when we can get them available, and then we can hopefully not miss out on any of the on-track action either.
So you can see the cars there form the Trackday Trophy in the assembly area, waiting for this next race. See a great mix of cars that we have in this category, from BMWs and Hondas on the front row. They've got Mazda, Ford, Toyota, so 5 different makes of car in the top 5. You can see there number 38. It looks like, yeah, we're having the Trackday Championship cars up next, aren't we, rather than Trackday Trophy. So this ever fluid timetable we have here today. Yeah, just checking the schedule. Yeah, so we're having the Trackday Championship next, aren't we? Just after, or just in a few moments' time. Then the Miata Trophy, then the Trackday Trophy will complete the day's running. So we're making sure we can get our 3 championship races completed first, and then we'll have the Trackday Trophy, which is a series at the end of the day's programme.
So we are down here at the podium. Unfortunately, we're going to be a bit tight on time to get the podium announcements underway, but we can grab a word with race 1 winner Declan Lee. We were chatting before the race, and you said you're going to be on for a win and you're going to prove that number 1 is on the side of your car for a reason. You did it, albeit rather sideways.
Well, sideways is my main character, of course. It's been a really tricky lead up to this race weekend at Snetterton. We didn't have the best weekend. I've been dealing with a bit of heartbreak, but I just knew I had to look at the road ahead, just like in life, click the visor down and look at the road ahead of me, and that's what I'm doing in life, and that's what I did in the race.
Granted, a lot of that may have been looking outside the passenger window because there's oil down or something through the hall bends, and I think that caught a few drivers out, but you and John absolutely tooth and nail all the way through the race. There was nothing you did that he didn't respond to.
I tried not to look in the mirror because when I would look to my side, I would be sideways, he would be behind me, and I just tried to not think about it, and like I say, just look at the road ahead and try not to look in the past.
Plan for race 2, more of the same?
Yeah, keep looking forward, stay positive, and keep my fingers and toes crossed in the car.
Great stuff. Cheers, Declan. Congratulations. And I think that may just about be all the time that we have for interviews, because we're already trying to get the next session underway. But Josh, back to you in the commentary box.
Thanks, Jackwell, who's down there in Park Ferme, trying to catch up with drivers as and when we can. So good to hear there from our Miata Trophy race winner, Declan Lee. See there on your screen, Hall Bend, which was so slippery during the course of that race after the fluid that went down prior to that first race. We caught at least one driver out during the course of that 20-minute Miata Trophy battle. Let's have a look at the grid then for the Trackday Championship race that's coming up now. So on pole position is car number 70. That is the car of Justin Roberts and Nicole Drought, the championship leaders who go from pole in their Honda Civic. That's number 70. Alongside 98, which is Charlie Polk, who is in his Renault Clio. On the second row, number 25 is James Burnham and David Ellersley's Ford Fiesta. Alongside 46, which is the Volkswagen Golf of George and Jack Wright. On the third row is 153, Stephen Docker in his Mazda MX-5, and 38 alongside is Henry Wright and Kevin Glover's Ford Fiesta. On the fourth row of the grid, just gone off our screens there for a moment, on the fourth row of the grid for the Trackday Championship, which I don't have a grid sheet for, so I don't think. So we'll see if we can get that back up on the screen in a moment for you. But that is the race that we are anticipating next. But a delay at the moment. Not sure if this again is weather related with the fog that's kind of incoming. To see the safety car's now stopped, so waiting for the competitors. So we should soon be able to get the cars out onto the circuit. Yeah, I don't think we have a Trackday Championship official grid sheet online, so we're not unable to give that to you in full, I'm afraid. But there you can see the cars leaving, be headed by the Justin Roberts and Nicole Drought driven Honda Civic Type R, who are the championship leaders on 104.5 points, which is 21 more than the George and Jack Wright car. Roberts and Drought were the winners at Linden Hill. We've had races at Donington Park, Brands Hatch and Snetterton as well this season. This is a 45-minute race in the middle third, and we have three classes based on power to weight ratio. Class B, the most powerful for cars up to 175 brake horsepower per tonne. So you can see there the Honda Civic on pole position. Now we have a grid for you now, so let's take you through that. So on the front row, just as we were telling you earlier, number 70, Justin Roberts and Nicole Drought in their Honda Civic, alongside 98, Charlie Polk's Renault Clio. On the second row, 25, is James Burnham and David Ellersley's Ford Fiesta, and 46, George and Jack Wright's Volkswagen Golf. On the third row, 153, Stephen Docker in his Mazda MX-5, alongside 38, Henry Wright and Kevin Glover's Ford Fiesta. On the 4th row is 12, which is Chris Dunster and Scott Thompson's Renault Clio, and 21 alongside Wayne Cockrell's Toyota Celica. On the 5th row, number 19, Nathan McPhail's Honda Civic is alongside 42, Richard Priest and James Reed's Janetta G40. On the 6th row is the grid you can see on your screen once again. On the 6th row is 249 Jason Rogers in his Renault Clio, and alongside him is number 16 Alistair Easham's Mazda MX-5. Then on row 7 is 71 John Lyne in his Renault Clio. He was a race winner at Donington Park, and he's further down than you'd expect therefore, on alongside the MGZR 124 Robert and Ashley Hornigold. On row 8 is 77, which is James Howells in his Ford Fiesta, alongside number 6 Colin Wells in his Mazda MX-5. And on row 9, 67 is Hayden McDonald and Ben Abbott in their Mazda MX-5. And number 30, David Evans, will complete the grid in his Ford Fiesta. So we are expecting 20 cars. We're expecting 18 cars on that grid. We did get 20 qualified, so we may have lost a couple since qualifying, I'm afraid. Yeah, 18 cars line up in front of me. So we think it was probably one of the cars from this group that dumped a bit of fluid. So it's still 20 degrees Celsius here at Cadwell Park for the 5th round of the MSVT Trackday Championship, with this great varied grid: Honda, Renault, Ford, Volkswagen, Mazda in the first 5 places. So 5 manufacturers in the top 5 spots on the grid. And the classes are quite mixed up really on this grid too. In these damp conditions, the most powerful cars not necessarily always been able to put all their power down. For example, a Class D car on the 2nd row of the grid, the ex-Fiesta champion David Ellerslie, sharing with James Burnham. And I'm afraid this is the reason, I think, for our delay. You can see the clerk of the course is up there at Park Corner, where it's got much more foggy than it was in the previous race. So Park Corner's been the problem all day, and again the fog has dropped down again. From the commentary box you can't see Charlie's on the Park Straight, which you could see that area earlier. So this is the safer amount to be able to go racing for the competitors and for the marshals side, and therefore not until they are happy we can go racing once again. And with the conditions that keep coming in and out throughout the afternoon, it was super foggy all morning, so we didn't get any track action at all. This afternoon we've had track action on and off, but with the fog that keeps dropping down, particularly over that end of the circuit, we can't go racing until that is clear. So the clerk of the course having a word with trackside marshal to find out how much visibility they have got and to see if it will be possible to go racing or not. And we'll wait for the clerk of the course to return to the pit lane to make that decision. But it has to be said, I'm afraid, look a lot worse than it did half an hour ago, once again. There they are, the cars there on the grid of the championship leader on the pole position. The Motion Motorsport run Honda Civic Type R from 2004, driven by Justin Roberts and Nicole Drought in their Honda Civic Type R, alongside the Renault Clio Cup car of Unique Racing and Charlie Polk, the car from 2017. Charlie, who was second at Lyddon Hill in that race that Justin Roberts and Nicole Drought won. And on the 2nd row, the impressive Fiesta of James Burnham and David Ellerslie, yet to win a race in Class D this season, a class which really has been dominated by Henry Wright and Kevin Glover in their Fiesta. They were winners at all but Brands Hatch. They've had 3 of the 4 victories. And the winner at Brands Hatch within Class D was Stephen Docker, and he starts directly between those 2 Fiestas, really. Get warm in the cars. You can see that door open to try and let a bit of fresh air in for Jason Rogers in his Renault Clio. 71 directly behind John Lyne, who has been sort of the surprise driver not to be at the sharp end in qualifying. It was a bit of a troublesome qualifying session, it has to be said, with a red flag and then many laps behind the safety car, while the fog was sort of in a situation that we've got again now, where it wasn't possible to run at full pace. There you can see the Gulf, number 46, the car that's second in the championship, of George and Jack Wright. They have had second a couple of times this season at Donington Park and at Brands Hatch. There is the marshal post at Park Corner, and it's paramount that each marshal post can see the previous one, which I don't think is possible at the moment. So the marshals here on the start line have communicated now with the drivers to turn their engines off, so that means we will have a delayed part of the meeting once more, I'm afraid. Again, if you're here at Cadwell Park, thanks for sticking with us throughout today. We hope to be able to get some more racing for you as soon as the track conditions allow for it. And particularly big thank you to everyone in orange, our hard-working marshals here at Cadwell Park, who were here on post from 8:30 this morning and with very little to do for the first 4 hours or so, except for communicate that they couldn't see very much. And we're back into that position again. So we're under delay, and we'll talk to you again here at Cadwell Park once we have some information about when the race might be able to start. But for now, we are in delay, as you can see, for the foggy conditions.
see November for that race remembrance.
Do you know what we're talking about? That? Are you going to that?
Yeah, we've covered it the last two. We've covered it the last 2 years.
Wow.
If you've never been, even
No.
as a spectator, never been to Maine. So no way to get there. So
I've never been to Anglesey.
Anglesey, is it?
What do you go to Anglesey?
Well, we did Alton Park for Richard a couple of months ago. That was 3 odd hours, and Anglesey's another hour and a half. Oh, easy. Because I've done there's a motorbike thing, there's a sunset to sunrise charity. It basically starts at
Well, I've heard of that.
the west coast of Anglesey and is something Stack Lighthouse. When it's
As you can see on your screen now, if you're still watching on the YouTube page, the clerk of the course is heading out for a further inspection of the venue. If you're here at Cadwell Park, you'll be well aware that the fog has descended on the circuit pretty dramatically over the last half an hour or so. So once we get further word from race control about what may happen over the remaining part of the day, here at Cadwell Park, we're bringing it to you. We can see there on the screen the clerk of the course vehicle moving away from the pit lane and disappearing off into the distance. Somewhere down there is the first corner here at Cadwell Park, Coppice Corner, but I'm afraid the conditions have been super challenging all day and they're just continuing in that vein. So we're continuing to be under delayed conditions here at Cadwell Park, and we'll let you know when we get further information.
No, it wasn't me.
We did that in the week.
Well, last night we replaced half of the. He used to run a lot of cafe and now he does takeaway food like 3 nights a week. Last night, American lunch, small American lunch, cheap burger, sour like sauce, salad box, fries.
find
The
it
big
really
red
funny
one.
being over there for food recordings out there.
Our boss has spoken. Surely it's got to be home time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sensible. Oh yeah.
I
Didn't
would
have
have
it.
thought so.
If I was Clarkin, I'd be going to the steward. Look,
We would have called it.
call
I
it.
just spoke to a mountain guy and he reckons he's getting another race. Yeah.
I feel the black bit, it's alright.
He's still here.
Has anybody got sat nav so they can find the Trackday? I've seen the signs for that.
What's an owl doing? Tweeting now. That's me. That's me.
So I'm afraid down to the weather and the increasing lack of visibility around the circuit. The rest of the race meeting has been abandoned. The cars are currently leaving the start line and heading back to the paddock. A real disappointment for everybody, but we must bring a big thank you to particularly all our marshals and officials for trying to get as much track action today as has been possible, but the weather gods very much have been against us, and now the track conditions, as you can see around the venue and on the live streaming pictures as well, are very much not safe to go racing. Therefore the day has to be called early. So if you've been here at Cadwell Park, we thank you for joining us, and we're really sorry we've not been able to have any more track action. We have, but I'm sure you understand the reasons with the difficulty in the conditions. MSVT Racing, though, they will continue throughout the rest of the season, so do check out their websites and further live streams on the YouTube channel. But for now, we say a very foggy goodbye from Cadwell Park.